Hey guys, welcome to this week's lesson. See, there's two lessons this week. This is the first one. This should take you about an hour. We have this question doc here. Some of you are using it and it's been great, fantastic. And we have a new thing. This is a vocab doc. It has all the vocab words so far from this unit, keeping it running. So if you get confused on something like what does that word mean, check out this vocab doc, open it up and just keep scrolling through it. It'll help you. Thank you, Jenna, for putting that together for us. So here's our do now. I want you to compare, meaning find similarities and differences between the foot bones of a chicken and an Allosaurus. Both are dinosaurs. Yes, they're actually both dinosaurs, which is very cool. So look here, how are they different? How are they similar? Pause the video, write it up. We're talking today, we're comparing skeletons today. This is just their first opportunity to do so. So I want you to get it out of the way, do as best you can, but we're going to work on how to improve this soon. So pause and meet me in the next slide in a minute. Great, so here we go. Today we have a scientist of the day for you. We're going to talk about the learning target, go over some vocab. I want to share with you the rubric for this specific part of our evidence of evolution unit. We have this kind of interactive activity. You guys are going to color some bones. We're going to talk about how to use strong evidence for this unit. We're going to do a little practice, and then you have your exit ticket. Our scientist of the day her name is Mary Anning. Put this in presenter mode and read through it. There's some pictures of bones. You have a map here. I'm not going to go through it all with you, but please do. Very interesting person. So in this unit, we're looking at different types of evidence that support the theory of evolution. And there's so much, but we're kind of breaking it down into just three types. So there's fossils. We talked about that last week. This week is all about comparing anatomy. It's called comparative anatomy. We're looking at body parts of all kinds of different animals, specifically animals because it's easy to think about, and comparing them and seeing how does that help us understand that these things are all related. Next week, we'll talk about embryos. So down here, I want you guys to tell me, what do you remember about the law of superposition? That's the one with the layers, if you remember. What is that? What is that about? Type it down here. Here's our learning target. Today, we're going to work to support our claims about the relatedness of organisms using evidence of their anatomical structures. Okay, so many big words. What does that mean? Okay, so that means today we're going to be making observations of different animal skeletons. Easy peasy, okay? Then we're going to use those observations as evidence to support a claim about which animals are closely related. Okay, so if I give you three animals and say which two are closest related, you're going to say it's these two because, and you're going to give evidence about using features of their anatomy, their bones. Okay. So here's a quick little vocab, little reminder. Evolution is the idea that life changes slowly over time and that species alive today came from older species. So humans evolved from older species. All plants alive today evolved from older species, which is very cool. And that relates directly into this idea of a common ancestor. We've used this slide now, I think this is the third time, but this is a tricky thing, and we're going to talk about common ancestors and on this unit as well, this mini unit about comparative anatomy. So a common ancestor is the most recent species from which two other species evolved. So you and your sister, remember your common ancestor, her name is Mom. Happy Mother's Day. And your cousins and you have a common ancestor. They're your grandparents. You also have a common ancestor with chimpanzees about 6 million years ago. You have a common ancestor with spiders, with broccoli. You probably got to go back a couple billion years, but you do. You do, which is kind of makes my brain hurt a little bit to think about that. Okay, for this unit, we're talking about anatomy. Anatomical means relating to the body structures of organisms. So we're talking about body parts. Remember here that anatomy is different because genes are different. Our genes they build proteins, right? Or they are instructions for how to build a protein, and the proteins decide like how big we're going to be. They build us. And so if our genes are different, that means our anatomy is going to be different. And if two anatomies are very similar, that means the genes are similar. That's going to be important. Here's our rubric. This lesson, we're kind of working on the 1 and the 2. We're going to make a claim about relatedness. So you're going to have some pictures. You're going to say, oh, these two things are most related. That's my claim. And then you're going to work today on how are we going to talk about the evidence for that? How do we know those things are related? Tomorrow, so you can do this in the same day if you want. The next lesson, the second lesson this week, is all about how to meet and exceed. That's how are we going to explain that evidence. It's a little bit trickier, so we'll work on that on a separate lesson. Okay, so on this slide, we're going to answer the question and cite evidence. Okay, so I got 3 skeletons. There's a mammoth, there's an elephant, there's a giraffe. Remember, a mammoth is like Manny in Ice Age movies. These are extinct. They're not ancestors of elephants, they're related. So elephants did not evolve from mammoths, they're like cousins. But one of the cousins went extinct, and elephants are still around today. So which 2 organisms are most closely related? Well, I kind of just told you, but you could tell from right here. We have mammoths, elephants, and giraffes. So I'm going to say, okay, the mammoth and the elephant are the most closely related. I don't think anybody would look at those 3 skeletons and disagree with me. Okay, so but I know this. Remember, we're talking about the evidence today. So we're going to cite some evidence. I know this because, and I see here that Mr. Murphy gave some specific names to body parts and bones. So skull, instead of saying like head bone, we're going to say skull, tusks, rib cage. The vertebrae are your backbones. It's a nice, and actually kind of goes up your neck, which is a good science word. So I know this because their bodies look the same. Great, nailed it. Okay, so I'm going to keep going here. Next slide says the mammoth and the elephant are the most closely related. Awesome, that's what I said. And the mammoth and the elephant look the same. Hey, that's what I said. Sweet. Oh, wait. This says that's bad evidence. This is not good evidence because it's too general and it doesn't include specific bones. It doesn't say anything about a leg or a rib or a tail or a skull. Dang it. Okay, so let me go back. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to say a specific bone. I know this because they both have big skulls. Skulls. Okay, nailed it. Okay, so that's no longer bad evidence. So it's, oh, they have big skulls. Yeah. Oh, it says that it's almost there. Which means it's not perfect yet. So, okay, this evidence could be better. It compares a specific bone, the skull, that's what I did, in the 2 similar animals, the mammoth and the elephant, but it could do more. You could do more than just the skull. And it doesn't include the giraffe. So I compared it to the 2, but not to the other one. Okay. What if I go back and I say, what if I talk about the skull and the tusks? So they have tusks and the giraffe doesn't. And they have like a short neck, so maybe their vertebrae is shorter and the giraffe's vertebrae is longer, or it's kind of upright. So if I wrote about that, I'm not going to type that in because let's just say I did. The elephant and the mammoth have big skulls, long tusks, and short necks. I didn't use the word vertebrae. I should have. It's okay. The giraffe's skull is much smaller. It has no tusks and it has a long upright neck. This is good evidence. I compared how the 2 things, this mammoth and the skeleton, were similar. I chose 3 different things. Actually, there's a whole slide about this. I included the skull and the tusk and the neck. 3 different features. And I compared them. And then I actually went on and I said how the 3rd one is different from the first 2. That just really helps to say these 2 are similar and this one is also different. And then it's like, okay, that's very clear evidence. Okay, so you can always come back to the slide 18, if you want an example of good evidence. Okay, real quick primer about your bones in your hand and your arm. Okay, so we're gonna need to know this for today. You have a humerus. How can I hold this without you like looking at my arm weird? This is your humerus. This is your upper arm bone. Go ahead and touch it while I'm talking about you. You have one bone in your upper arm. It's called the humerus. It's not that funny. Not your funny bone. You might not know this, but you actually have 2 bones in your forearm, your lower arm. You have a bone that's called the radius, and it runs from your elbow up to under your thumb on this side. You can kind of touch it. Yep, I can feel mine. And then you have a bone that runs on the other side, up to kind of below your pinky, and that is called your ulna. And you can actually feel like a soft spot in between them. That's because there's a gap in between these two bones, really. Your wrist, you have like 8 small bones. It's kind of hard to tell them all apart. I don't know the names of the different bones, but they all definitely have names. But together, they're called carpals. You have 5 bones that you can definitely feel in your hand. They're like these long, skinny ones. They're called metacarpals. And you have phalanges, or the bones in your fingers, and you have 14, and that makes sense because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. These 4 fingers have 2 different joints, right? There's 2 joints combining 3, but your thumb only has the 1 and the 2. 1 and 2. So there's 12, 13, 14. 14 in your hand. And you actually have the same number in your toes, which is crazy. They're actually, I think they're called phalanges as well in your toes. So okay, that's a little background info because on the next slide, you're actually going to color some of these. So let me undo this. I actually just tried to record myself and I screwed it up. So here we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to color code the frog, lizard, bird, cat, whale, and bat skeletons, just like I did for you for the human. So all the humerus, we're going to turn blue. All the radius bones, we're going to turn green. The ulnas are red. And then the kind of the carpals, metacarpals, phalanges, we're going to outline in pink. We're going to do that by double-clicking on a bone. Then we're going to find this symbol, which is right here, border color. We're going to click on it, and we're going to choose the color we want. In this case, we want it to be blue. Ooh, sweet. Then I can double-click on this one. It looks like this is going to be the ulna, or sorry, the radius. The radius is our green. Boom. Okay, and we're going to do that for all of them. We're going to color code each of these for all of them. And then we're going to go, oh, we see some similarities and some differences. That's cool. And we're going to go on the next slide. And we're going to use, you can always click back here to use this after you finish coloring them. We use that for evidence. Are humans more closely related to bats, or whales? I want you to use what you see as evidence. I want you to work on citing specific bones, which I named for you, remember, as evidence for why you think humans are more closely related to the bat or the whale. Okay, after you do that, you can come to this slide. I'm just going to delete these real fast, and I'll show you how to create these. So use the rubric down here to evaluate the ACE below. Copy and paste the star or the X for the answer, cite, evidence, and explain, and then circle the final score. So I can do all that for you here. So I'll just delete this. Okay. So humans are more closely related to whales than bats. That's fine. You don't have to agree with me. Please disagree and just use evidence to support it. Fantastic. But that's a good claim. So I'm going to click on the star. I'm going to hit Control. I'm going to hold Control with my pinky. And then I'm going to tap C and it copies it. And I'm going to tap V and it pastes it. And I can drag this down here. This is not very specific evidence. Does not talk about specific bones. So I'm going to hold a copy of the X, Control C, Control V, and drag it down here. You could probably also do it up here. Let's see, Control C. Here we go. It's hidden behind my face, but there's a copy, and there's a paste, and I can drag it down here. Okay, that's what I want you guys to do for all of them. So since this only has one star, this is a 1. So I'm just going to go here, do a shape, circle this 1. Oop, I got to make it transparent. I'll just make it green or blue, I don't know, and I'm going to make it thicker so you can see it. I'll even go thicker again. Whoa, there we go. There's the grade I would give this. So I want you guys to do that same thing on these next few slides. The good thing about this is you are evaluating evidence. You're kind of thinking, is this good evidence? Is this not good enough? This will help you here. Then you have one final ACE. It's your exit ticket. I want you to compare the cat, the whale, and the bat. You're still looking at the arms, so you have all the same bones to talk about. I want you to tell me, are cats more closely related to bats or whales? Don't worry about the fact that the cat and bat rhymes. That doesn't help. If they're more related, it's going to be because of their bones. So I want you to work specifically on this box, citing good evidence. Go ahead and try to explain the evidence, but we're just going to focus on that in the next lesson. So when I come and look at it, I'm going to be looking at this box. How good, specific, full evidence can you use to support whatever claim you come up with? Both claims would work. I'm looking at the evidence. I don't have a claim in mind that I think is the right claim. We'll use this rubric. Your teachers will use this rubric to kind of help you. We'll put a little star if we think that your evidence was strong. Great. If you have any questions, Put them in the question doc at the top, and I'll see you on the next lesson.